Good evening, good morning, and whichever time zones you are, welcome to my podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Monica K. Royal. She is a data enthusiast with a mission to share knowledge and resources in hope to inspire others to learn and grow in the field of data. She is super passionate about continuous learning and created Nerd Nourishment with aspiration of it becoming an educational platform for the data community. Monica has a formal education in accounting and management information system with a background in information technology, security, and risk management. She considers herself to be a nerd and enjoys dancing, spending time outdoors, and trying new food. Thanks a lot, Monica, for joining this podcast and agreeing to come with me and sharing your valuable time and experience with the community. So, before we start, can you just walk me through your journey about data and what are you doing currently?
Yes, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. Glad to be here. So, my background and my journey. As you mentioned, I have a formal education in accounting and management information systems. So, in high school, I really liked math and was suggested to go to university and get a degree in accounting. I got kind of too far into accounting before I realized it didn't really have too much to do with math. So I was like, well, instead of starting all over, let's just try to figure out what I could do. And took this class that was related to information technology. And so I went to my counselors and was like, hey, what can I do with this? And so they were like, oh, if you add management information systems as an additional degree, you can go into what's called auditing. And I was like, oh, tell me more about that. And so learned a little bit about programming and basically how people use technology to run their companies. And then the auditing side of it was to test those different ways that they are, doing those policies and procedures and how they're running the company to make sure that it's operating in the way that they intended that it's operating. So first started off as an auditor, long story short. And then how I got
Nice.
into data, I actually brought data to me. So a lot of people right now, they're kind of figuring out like a way to transition into the data field. And what I saw, way back when, over a decade ago, I'm a little bit old, but I realized that there was a way to use these data analytics. That was a new term to me, and apply that to my audit procedures in a way that I can test faster and better. So I basically just asked my manager, I was like, hey, can I go on a rotation with a different department? There was an enterprise analytics department in our.
So now, what are you doing? Can you just explain to the users what is your current day like? How are you using data analytics or data science skills in your daily work or job that you are doing?
Yeah, so currently I've kind of transitioned myself into the solo entrepreneurship, and I am right now currently full time doing Nerd Nourishment. And my Nerd Nourishment is a platform where I am helping people that are interested in getting into the data field and helping them find resources where they can learn these different skill sets that they need to learn about. And so the platform, big main components are a blog and a podcast. And so through that, I'm sharing resources of different online courses and whatnot. And also with my podcast, I'm highlighting different careers that are data related that you might not think are data related, because I know a lot of times when people are getting into the data field, they'll just look for data science or data analytics, right? And there's like
Yeah.
so much more opportunities out there available if you want to get into data. So that's what I'm trying to do with my podcast.
Nice. So, what are the things that when you say data science, when you say data, you said data analytics. What all does it include according to you? Uh, what are the main foundational skills for anyone right now? When they say data, when they say data analytics, they should have to at least start to get their first job or their first internship.
Yes, great question. So I always think about the Venn diagram. It's kind of an old school data science unicorn Venn diagram, right? And so it has a side for mathematics and statistics, and then it has a side for computer science. Some people call it different things. We'll call it computer science programming. And then you have domain knowledge, which basically just means knowledge of how your business operates. So for the skill sets, for the hard skills, I would say knowing a programming language is really good, whether that be Python or R. Python's more popular. And then also so knowing data visualizations. And then again, with the tool that you're going to use, that can be any tool if you're choosing to start off with. Tableau has a public profile free to everyone. So that's a place that I recommend people can start their journeys with the data visualizations.
And in for programming, what do you suggest? Many people ask me, is programming necessary for us to get into data? So, what are your thoughts on that?
To get into data, I would say no. You could start off with an Excel spreadsheet because data analytics, it all boils down to analyzing some kind of tabular format, is the baseline, and understanding the numbers that you're looking at, the trends that you're seeing with it. And something like an Excel spreadsheet or Google Sheets is available for free to kind of understand and get that foundation.
So, okay, now what are your thoughts about generative AI? There is a lot of hype about generative AI, and people are thinking that this is going to change the way everything is happening, right? Some people are actually scared that they will lose their jobs. Some people are every day some of the other things are happening. What is your take on this generative AI? And if a person, like suppose, who is new to AI, new to data field, what should he do? Should he focus on learning about generative AI, or should he go in the traditional data science or data analytics that you are talking about?
It all depends on what your goal is, where you want to start. But if you're first starting off and entering the data field, I think that you should start off at the foundations. What you can do in respect to generative AI is to leverage it for a learning tool. And what I mean by that is basically use it as Google, right? If you have questions about what you're currently learning with the foundations of data science, then you can pop into, Chat GPT and ask it some questions. But what I would like to point out is that I would be skeptical of the output that you are given. I would not take it at face value, copy paste it into a term paper or anything like that. It's something that should be leveraged for you to be able to help yourself.
Yeah, because I have also been in teaching data science for around 8 years now.
Yeah.
and I have an academy. And what I have seen is after this chat gpt has launched, many people are why should we learn how to write excel formulas, write power bi tax, write python code or sql code, when chat gpt can easily generate it for us and we can use that. This is the thought process, and this is the comments that are coming from many of my new students who are talking to me. And as you also currently mentioned, that you need to know whether the output is correct or not. If you don't know that, yeah, because we have learned it in the hard way. We have learned it. We have learned the foundations of all these things. Spent years to learn it. So now we can. We have the privilege to use this tool for our work because we can analyze and tell whether the output is correct or not. But if a new person is starting using that, then he will be lost. So this is, and I really resonate with your thought about this particular thing. Now regarding your what is your if a person wants to learn coding, what is your advice for them? Like suppose I take a language python, because now everyone is talking, it's one of the main languages. If a person wants to learn coding, because that is one of the challenges for many non-tech people who are coding for the first time, if they want to start learning python, because this is what I tell people, if you have to learn only one language, start with python. You may contradict about this, but if it is any language, which one will you prefer and how will you tell them to learn it? What is the process that you generally tell them?
Yeah, I agree with you. To start off with, Python's a good first start because Python is so popular and more widely used, because what you can do is use it in your data science community as well as branching out into like software engineering, right? There's more applications. Whereas if you started off with R, it's more of a statistical language, which is fine if you do want to start off with that. So if you are brand new, probably start off with Python just because the applications are, they have more broad applications. And then I would just say take an introduction course. There are tons of free resources out there to start off with. And then from there, you can figure out, do you want to take a more advanced course, or what direction do you want to go into next? But to learn more, I talk a lot about different ways to learn, are to apply what you are learning through something like projects. So build something yourself with it. And then another way that I like to do myself is to teach others about it. So there's something, I think it's called the protege effect. So when you are learning something new with yourself and you teach others, you're able to solidify that more within yourself and understand it better while you are also teaching others.
Amazing. So I will share one thing, or maybe you will resonate with it, because I come from the old school of how to learn coding. I tell people that you need to learn one programming language very nicely, because it is a logic building step by step. There are you need to learn how to write logics. And maybe you just tell whether you agree with me and your thoughts. I want to hear from you, as because you also have been in this field for a long time. Is I tell people who are learning, don't use Google or Chat GPT to get the code and copy paste. Don't do that. If you are learning, type yourself. Even if you are seeing the code, don't copy paste, at least for till you are comfortable. Why? Because when you type, you understand about this is something called indentation, right? In python you need to have indentation between the functions so that to work. You will not know about these things if unless you type. I know everything is there in Google and ChatGPT, but I request people to type the code. At least for a till they are comfortable for 6 months when they are learning. Because to be honest, we are still humans. Whatever is the technology happens, you if you write something with your own hand or if you type something, you will remember. And this is what I had done, and I tell this to everyone, all my students. And as you can say, as an academician, my work is to tell. But only 5 to 10% of them agree, listen to it. And one more thing I tell, and it is a very good advice, is maybe you'll agree with it or not, to make your own handy code. Handy code is something like the code, like suppose you are doing Python, you are doing some data structure work, or you are doing some if statements, or write all the just write the code and keep it as a reference. So it's like a handy code, what I say, of whatever code you're writing of different scenarios. Keep it in one place, make it your dictionary, make it your Google. Means like suppose Monica's Google. So whenever you are coding and you find that you have to write a code about changing the date time, if you want to type it, you type it, or else you go to the handy code and get it from there, so that you will remember it. And this is because, see, to be honest, these things develops your mind. And
Yep.
if you are using shortcuts like Google or ChatGPT, you will it is a shortcut, but your mind will not register when to use what. So what are
Yeah.
your thoughts on this? I know I tell this to everyone in every podcast also when people ask me how to
Yeah.
learn programming. Yeah.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with that. I love your idea of creating your own like tutorial document, right? So you can refer back to that. I used to have that for Excel formulas. So when I first started out, I was writing Excel formulas all the time. And you do come across kind of repeat Excel formulas. And so I had a list. I didn't need to go back to Google and,
Yeah.
do all of that research. I had a document that had all of those. So with that same mindset, having that for Python or SQL or what have you, that's a brilliant idea. And then your reference to writing out the code instead of copy pasting it, for two reasons why I absolutely agree to this. I have been requested to do so when I teach classes, to write it out instead of just showing like a solution and explaining through it. Others have wanted to receive it watching me type it out, right? And so that same thought process, where I hope that they're also, typing it out themselves, because you are seeing all of the different characters being created and you understand. Another thing about copy pasting and why you should not do that specifically within your code is if you go to Google ChatGPT, don't forget about Stack Overflow, and you copy paste from there. There's certain characters like your quotations that come over in a wrong way, and then you'll get errors, and then you'll spend lots of time being frustrated, like what is happening, and it's because of the quotation mark. So that's something. Fun fact.
Yeah.
Don't copy paste.
Yeah. So what I say, this is the way of learning. You need to have a good way of learning. If you know the way of learning, you can learn any technology that is there. There is no shortcut. To be honest, what I say, you can use these technologies maybe later on if you know the foundations, if you know to build upon it. But if the foundation is shaky, then you cannot make floor on over that. And this is this is the reason why we don't have you can say quality data professionals right now, because they say that they know a lot of things, they know deep learning, they know all the latest stuff, but the foundations of these small things are not in place, and which is for any person who wants to enter the data feed, these simple basic skills has to be there. His attention to details, his coding skills, his you can say his you can say passion to learn. And one more thing I wanted to add, and I tell everyone, the main skill right now is we talk about programming and all those things, but I feel right now in this current age, the main skill that people are lacking, and specifically the Gen Z, which I am dealing with mostly, is attention span.
Ah.
Yeah. Yes, and talk about this a lot. Attention span. This is one thing that people are actually lost right now. If you see nowadays, why I was telling about my academy, the drop. There is a very big drop in people who want to learn basic data science and data analyst, and everyone is jumping on the generative AI bandwagon.
Yeah.
And to be honest, right now I feel it is a hype. And I just wanted to know your thoughts. If a person, now you told, I know you told about priorities and all those things, but what do you think are the skill sets required exactly for a person to produce something, produce, not just use, produce something in this space, in the generative AI space?
Well, again, you need to understand the foundations and what to even ask, right? Because if you don't know what you need to ask, then you're not going to be able to receive the information. So we've played around with giving some prompts, and it really depends on specifically the questions that you're asking it if you are going to get a return of the correct answer or not, or even an answer at all in particular. So, in order for you to know the questions that you need to ask it, you need to know the foundations of what you are trying to ask it. So, whether that be coding or statistics or domain knowledge, what have you.
What do you think right now, this particular technology, this generative AI, what is the future? Is it really going to change the way people are, companies are working? Aside, the way companies are going to work, how is it going to change? What do you feel the future of work is going to be in the near 1 or 2 years because of this technology?
I don't see much of a change, at least in the short term, because of the fact that they are asking questions to a bot instead of asking questions to an analyst. Same thing, they still don't know what they're asking, right? However, when you're asking an analyst for a particular project to be completed, right? That analyst then has the capability to come back and be like, do you actually need this? Or I think that this would be a better product for you, right? Like I'm trying to think of like building a dashboard and they give you your business requirements. You can just type in the business requirements to like a chat GPT and you get what you get back, right? You just think that those are your business requirements. But then if you give your business requirements to a data analyst or a data scientist, then you're able to have that back and forth conversation with different suggestions on different projects that should be, better helpful for different situations. And also the domain knowledge is key. When you're working on particular projects, to know the backstory of the different situations that are happening and what type of charts or dashboards. I keep going back to the dashboard example, but I think that's a good example. So yeah, there's like right now not that type of feedback of additional questions coming back and that back and forth brainstorming, I guess.
Yeah, talked about a very important point, which is domain knowledge. This is one thing that people miss upon, right? Like people who want to transition to data, whatever domain they have been working, right? Like suppose a person was working in the pharma space as a non a data person, but he knows information about pharma. So when he's getting to work in the data or the analytics space of pharma, he will know the domain properly and he can create the features, like suppose the dashboard, he will know which KPI to create, because I have no experience in pharma. So for me, creating a KPI, I will require a person who has some domain knowledge to talk to me and tell me. So that is one thing that I feel is also very very important, because for any dashboard, as you mentioned, you will have a data set, but that is meaningless unless you show the exact KPI or the business question that you are trying to tell, which comes from domain knowledge and understanding which level the data is and how we can show that KPI from the data. So
Mhm.
that's a very good point. Now, when have you tried Power BI, or you are mostly working in Tableau?
I've worked in both applications.
So I wanted to ask, because this I asked to many people who are working in the BI space. According to you, if a person has to learn one BI, now he does not know, he has no experience in BI, he wants to pick up one BI tool. According to you, which one should he pick up over the other, and why? If you can just.
That's a really tough one. I try to stay tool agnostic for the most part. However, if you are going to pick one tool, pick one that you can do so for free. Just because if you're learning something and you don't have the capability to purchase any tool, then free options are the best. One thing that you could do is look at the industry that you're trying to get into and see what tool they use. If it's primarily Tableau versus Power BI, then you can lean in one of those directions. But again, this comes back to the foundational knowledge where you are really just learning about what charts that you need to use in certain situations, right? Like line charts are only good for certain situations, bar charts are good for other situations, right? So you need to know what different types of charts need to be produced for what different types of situations. And then you can learn a specific tool along the way later on.
Yes, that is, yeah, that is very good, because many people say ask me this, and this question. To be honest, if you personally ask me, I have around 12 years back I started learning Tableau. I was working a lot in Tableau. At that time, Power BI was not even it was not there. It launched. Where it came into being, I don't know exact year, but it was very basic. And
Mm-hmm.
Tableau was, it's a very well known BI tool for a long time, and it is more, you can say, user friendly, and more you can create beautiful dashboards using that.
Yeah.
And the only thing is, Tableau was paid, the one that you told, it is not
Yes.
available freely, the full feature. But slowly Power BI started. I was working for the Microsoft client in Accenture. They told us, we were having Tableau reports, they told us to migrate to Power BI. So I
Mm-hmm.
remember learning Power BI, and to be honest, the way we create calculated field in Tableau is very much different, the way we create DAX formulas in Power BI. That time it took us some time to learn. That time we did not have Chat GPT, and it was a very new tool. So there was not so much knowledge base also, but we learned Power BI also, and I saw it grow from 2014 till now, and now it has become Microsoft has put lot of money in Power BI to make it like Tableau, what I feel, and it has given it free for people who have Microsoft Office, compared to Tableau. But Tableau also, it, they have launched a free version called Tableau Public, which has some features are not there, but almost all the features are there compared to Tableau licensed one.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is a choice, I tell people. But mostly, if I tell them you need to pick up one right now after OpenAI and ChatGPT era, I tell them to pick up Power BI personally, because the OpenAI integration in Power BI is helping you write DAX formulas within Power BI itself. And there is a
Okay.
there is an option called ask questions. You can like I think you have explored that. Like suppose there is a non-tech person who has the dashboard and he just asks a question. There is an option that you can train the Power BI dashboard to answer questions like what was the sales in the last month, and it is
Yes.
going. That is a very good feature for bot type response. If people don't want to go and see the data and they just want to ask the bot to give summarized output from, so it's a very good feature that can be used for some of the businesses.
Mm-hmm. It's funny that you mentioned that because I was thinking about that this morning, and I worked for a company that was exploring that same capability. But again, it's missing that domain knowledge. If you're trying to ask it some sophisticated questions, you're not going to get those right answers. You can, as you mentioned, what was the sales in 2018? Well, just look at the bar. It tells you right there. You know what I mean? So it's not, I don't think it's still as sophisticated as it could be without that domain knowledge.
Yes, yes, you are correct. It is just this particular ask your question that currently Power BI has is just giving you the facts like the numbers,
Mm-hmm.
but it is just going and checking what was the sales in June, whatever X amount, it is just showing it there. It does
Mm-hmm.
not have any insight, making insight. That particular capability is still not there. But what I have heard from some of the releases, that maybe they are working on doing something that you are saying, how to connect the dots and make a trend analysis. Like suppose you have a sales year over month sales, and you ask the bot explain me the sales trend of from January till December
Mm-hmm.
2022. So still now it is not there, but they are working on doing something like that. This is basically to help the business to derive insights automatically and not spend time on that. I know it will take some time because there is a mix of domain knowledge plus there are a lot of other things also. And
Uh-huh.
But it's a very exciting thing to see. There are a lot of developments that are happening in this space.
Yes, it is
Yeah.
exciting, but to be a little bit of a devil's advocate, you could just revisit your foundational knowledge and understand how to read the chart yourself. But I do agree that it is really cool of a tool, and the starting capabilities. There's promise.
Yeah, the thing, what is happening, because I am now talking to a lot of businesses also who want to learn about AI, and what is your like advice or your thoughts for people now? Because now AI is, I'm not talking about the too technical, but if a businessman, if a solopreneur who is non-tech, he wants to start using the data and AI capability for his business, so what is your advice for them? Should they go the route that a student goes through, or they can just focus on some of the elements to utilize this much more for their business and their work?
Oh, I don't think I have advice on that one. I'm not quite too sure. It is very new. It's an interesting concept. I would say play around with it. Kind of do treat it as you were a student. And again, use it as a tool to leverage, not something that is going to solve your problems.
Amazing. Yeah. So, okay, if we have to give one piece of advice to people who want to enter this space, like, what should they focus on? Because nowadays there is something like as data engineering, there is data analyst, data scientist, and NLP engineers. So, what is the thing that you tell people to focus on if they want to enter the field? If one advice you want to give them, how can they structure themselves?
Focus on your passion. Something that is personally of interest to you, not because it's some hype or some cool new field that you want to get into. Have it something be personally connected to you, because then that sparks your curiosity more, your interest, and will enable you to be able to apply the skills and knowledge that you learned to building out, say, like a product that you can then use.
And now this is a very interesting thing. One more thing I missed out. So now you, what do you advise people to get a job or start their own project or business if they want to do something in this field right now? What why I'm asking you this question is, many people ask me, I don't have experience, that and companies want some data experience. I tell them, at least do a project, build a project, spend some time, do something, like you're building a prototype of a project, and it can be, if it is good, it can be commercially viable and you can start something on your own. And if not, you can show this as a real experience and you can try to get into a data job. This is, so I am trying to come from that angle, because to be honest, there are scarcity of jobs, at least in this part of the world where I am in, because you know about the job market, about the freezes that are going on. So this is what I advise. So what will you tell people, because we, this is very important, right? People need to get a job. They can't keep just learning and not applying their skills. They also get frustrated, and because of the long wait time.
Mm-hmm. So it depends on if you currently have a job and you're just looking to transition into a different job. I would recommend the approach that I took and try to bring data to you, right?
Yeah.
And then that way you have the ability to start building that background and experience with using data. And another thing about people that say that they don't have background or experiences, a topic that I like to talk about is the skills that you already have. So you have transferable skills. I
Yeah.
promise you, you have the skills that are transferable into a data job, such as like curiosity, accountability, adaptability. There's a bunch of different skills that you already have that are very transferable and applicable to having a data profession.
Yeah, thank you. That this is very, very inspiring. I'm sure the listeners will take something positive from this and keep learning. It was very nice talking to you, and thanks a lot for sharing your insights and your thoughts. Before we end the podcast, do you have any last word or sentence about this experience?
Last words would be just stay curious. Ask lots of questions, remain excited. It's a very exciting field, and apply what you learn and share what you're learning with others.
Yes. Thanks a lot and have a great day.
Thank you so very much for having me on the show.
Yeah.